there was this video that I came across on Reels on this show called The Social. And I thought it's so interesting with the current climate of entertainment and this word content. Ugh, I don't like it. And then you got social media and movies. And now I just found out about these things called vertical shows
Oh
or vertical
gosh.
things, which I literally just discovered them like a few days ago. So I didn't even, I just, that's a whole other conversation. But I transcribed what this gentleman, his name is Arthur Simeon, said on the show, and I would love to get you guys' thoughts on it. So the topic was, do movies need to be more interesting to keep us off our phones? And I'll preface it by saying I am guilty. If a movie doesn't engage me, boom, I have a card game that I play or I'm on to Instagram. But I do try to give it a try. So I want to put that out there. I do give it a try. But here's his quote. A good story will always be a good story. I don't think there's any sort of creativity that's going to. Did I transcribe this right? Oh, here we go. I don't think there is any sort of creativity that's going to deal with short attention spans because I don't think we should cater to people who are on their phone when other people are wanting to watch what's unfolding on screen. I can't think of anything more annoying than trying to watch a movie with someone who's on their phone and then they end up looking up and asking what happened. So I want to start off the conversation by asking I have so many follow-up questions for this. But what do you think makes a good story to you? Like, do you agree with what he said? And then, like, what do you think makes a good story to you? And then I was thinking, like, does that translate across different mediums? Because I'm a writer. And so, what may be a
Mhm.
good story on the page, does that look different visually? As a photographer, like, what you consider a good story as a still, how does that translate into 3D, Antonio, like when it's moving and it's on film?
Yeah.
So, I'm so curious, you guys' thoughts. What
Rest in
makes a
peace, this conversation.
I know we about to go in. So,
There's so many
yeah,
pieces of this.
it really is. So that was just some morsels I threw out. Alistair, why don't you start, and you can just take whichever thread you want to start as we unravel this whole thing.
Thank you for setting that table. Let's go with I'm just gonna like top down. To tell stories is to be human, flat out. That's just it.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's like there's a universal component of like to relate to each other, to tell stories that somehow, as much as we've tried to mess that up or change it or repackage it, like that's like totally something that I feel like I have trust will never go away. Like it's always
Yeah.
been there, whether we've been scribbling on walls or, whatever
Mhm.
it is, or
Mhm.
going to the ballet. Like we want to see ourselves. We want to know something about ourselves. We want to explore the idea of what it is to be human and to relate to each other, and to understand either ourselves or each other,
Yeah.
And I think you want to talk about what makes a good story. I think it's being able to relate, like I think that's it, like there's something about, and I think that comes in any medium. Like it's amazing how much that can be a song, like that just kind of
Yeah.
cuts straight through you, and it
Mhm.
resonates really deeply, or it can be a movie, or it could be a book, or it could be a poem, it could be a sentence, it could like it's just literally so many different things that I think can be like there's the mechanics of what a story is, you
Mhm.
Yeah.
know, but I don't think it is the definition of what, I think it's relating to each other. Um and that kind of like goes through I think that goes for almost every medium. For photography, it's just a different technical toolkit to be
Yeah.
able to try and say the same thing,
Mhm.
and I think the frustration that we all have about like when we're creators is trying to perfect the and articulate in the right tone, language, and uh dialect what, we're trying to relate to each other about,
Yeah.
like efficiently. And I think that's the thing that, we see in a lot of things that work really well, right? When you're like, this was a really great movie. Like sometimes it's just entertainment, and we have a
Hmm.
lot of that in a lot of like the mediums that we work in. Like sometimes it just is what it is. But like when it really touches or hits home or does whatever it needs to
Hmm.
do, or you're bawling because of something, then I think that that's it, right? Like it doesn't need to be
Yeah.
a big feeling, but it just needs to, it says something about ourselves to each other.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's I don't have much more to add on top of that, honestly. Like you said, to relate, like for me, it's as soon as you started talking, I was reminded of the movie Sinners, which have you both seen Sinners by any chance?
I haven't.
I
Okay.
gotta catch up. What? You
I,
haven't?
I
I was like, I know
haven't.
you
I know
would
you're
have.
supposed to. I don't want to spoil. I truly think that you should just go in as blind as possible. Like you don't need information, but it's a movie that makes you deeply this is my take on it, deeply care about a number of things that if I gave them to you all on pieces of paper, you inherently don't care about. You don't have a personal connection to. And so
Hmm.
when I think of photography, when I think of music, when I think of a piece of theater or whatever, it has the capacity, and I think you summed it up. It's to relate. It makes me care about something, and it doesn't have to be caring about something that's said in the song or shown on screen, but I can connect. The experience of being human comes across that piece of art. And like I grew up in the theater, and I always talk about theater as being the only art form that is all encompassingly transformational. That you go into the dark room and you come out a different person.
Mm.
Um, where that's the transaction, and it's happening live with people on stage. And I do think it happens in concerts also, although I never really speak about it that way. But it's just this idea that there's somebody up on stage affecting your humanity in a way that you would have to leave the room for it to not happen. It's
Well,
going to happen, and you're
also kind
engaging
of
in it.
also kind of interesting that you're sort of in stasis in that time
Yeah,
period too, right?
yeah.
Like you're literally just receiving. Like
You're
you're in
just
a
receiving,
you're not you're trying you're yeah, which
and
is yeah.
all of it's happening inside of you. Like you may not catch it, but like your mind is forming questions. Your heart is like unraveling something. Your soul is starting to go like, are we? Where are we? What are we? And then you leave, and on the walk home, you hopefully have this like this cracked open moment, right? And so it is to relate. It is the a good piece of art conveys the reality, the experience of being human in the tiniest moments. And one of the greatest criticisms that I ever come up with, because I think I'm hilarious when I'm watching a movie, is that I go, "Oh, this could have been a poem." Right? Like
Oh
when I watch the
wow.
film and I'm
Mm.
like, you made me watch something for 2 hours that could have succinctly been a poem. And as such, and this is where the medium comes into play for me, right? Like we're talking about they all have their different tools and stuff. I think sometimes we're using the wrong tool to convey the wrong message, and that's okay,
Mm.
right? We're not going to
Hmm.
get it right all the time, right?
Hmm.
Like there are people who are filmmakers who probably should be short story writers. That's cool. They make
And
more
it
money as a
doesn't,
filmmaker.
and I think it's really important to highlight that it doesn't make it wrong, right?
It
Like
doesn't make it
it's because
wrong.
like I think the journey of being of like trying to create something also is like the exploration of trying to be efficient
Yes.
in the purpose, which you're never going to get there because that's just
No.
called perfection, right? Like I think we're all trying to like chase the idea. If you're really like really super passionate about creating on a very like
Hmm.
deep level, like it's literally not about like perfectionism, but like the idea of like trying to reflect
Yeah.
something
It's a
that is
process.
perfect, which you're never going to do. It'll because the
Not every
medium
piece
is
of
going to
marble
be,
becomes David.
yeah,
It just doesn't work
exactly.
that way.
It's representative, which is a
Yeah.
metaphor. And as soon as you get there, like, and I'll take a photograph, for instance, is like as soon it'll never be if I take a picture of Antonio, it'll never be him. You
Yeah.
know, if I print it, it's clearly a piece of paper.
Right.
So it just represents him, which like, now just becomes he's a metaphor for something.
Hmm.
So how do I use that tool to be able to then suggest like what he could be or conveying something?
Yeah.
And I think you're talking about like when art works, instead of it just being like, because there. there's absolutely, and I'll get this right out of the way, nothing wrong with like being entertained,
Totally.
Yeah.
in a safe manner, as long as
Yeah.
it's not destructive. I'm a very
Yeah.
big proponent of like not like talking about escapism, but I think it's really great to have safe entertainment.
Yeah.
And but like the idea of chasing that reflection of something that's perfect in art is it works when you use all those tools like the metaphor and like
Hmm.
everything being representative to try and like cobble together something, especially when you're working with other people, because that's just magical. That then you show to somebody and they're not, it works when it can cut straight to them
Yes.
without them knowing the language of of the toolkit that you use to create it,
Yeah.
right? Like they won't be able to articulate why it works. And if
But
that's
it
almost the
punctures them.
exactly, and that is like when you know it works, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know why this like movie or whatever made me feel this way, like because they don't know how editing works or whatever. And if you don't need to, I
Hmm.
don't need to know how like sound engineering works in the studio to know that this song is a hard bop and makes
Yeah.
me feel this way. You know what I mean?
I feel
Like
like
I
this when
don't
I
need
go
to
to
know
art
that. It just
galleries.
works. It just and
Yes.
that's success. Like
When
that's
I
when
go
you're
to an art
getting
gallery,
close.
I refuse to read what's on the wall. I can't do it because what I need to do is to stand in front of the painting and let it touch me. And if it does, then I'm gonna walk over and see what the artist wrote about it. But I can't do it in reverse. I don't want someone to talk me through their methodology and what they were thinking and why they think it works as a thesis of proof, and then go, yeah, I guess I can kind of see it because to me that's intellectual. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I personally I just don't think that that is what art is trying to do. Now,
Yes. Yeah.
there's a law of diminishing returns in some way. Not all art is for all people,
Yeah.
right? So like we can probably all agree that like to stand in front of David, the statue of David, is going to humble most people, but not everybody.
Hmm.
Not everybody. There is going to be a sculpture that one of you comes across that you'll show me that I'll be like, what is that? But to you, it's everything. And so, like when I was listening to Arthur Simeon's thing, and he was like, do stories need to be better? I have a hard time with that because I think that is leading us down a tricky path where it's asking us to all process everything the same way, and we
Mm.
don't. We have different experiences, and so maybe art can be incrementally better, but also maybe the things that you think are bad are speaking to a smaller demographic that you're not a part of.
100%. I think that like the magic is like you what did you say something you said well first of all bro date at the art gallery
What is
because
it?
that's brother date at the art gallery because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
exactly how I work, because
right.
it is often worse to read first, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Because you should but I love the to be able to know and be surprised by
Hmm.
what's
Hmm.
written on the wall,
Hmm.
Hmm.
happily surprised, reinforcing something
Yeah,
that maybe, to give an extra dimension to something. That the dimensionality of when something works. I think when
yeah,
things are universal, like that's really magical when it speaks to like, what we really did a great job of kind of banding together for everything everywhere all at once, right?
yeah. Great example.
Right. So
Yeah,
that's a great example as a movie that kind of does, it's really, really challenging to speak to the universal human experience because we're
yes,
so diverse
yeah.
on this
Hmm.
planet,
And
right?
but it
But
would also
they're
be naive to think that every piece of art could be everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
correct, and we don't need that because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
need like storytelling isn't about like we're not talking we haven't even broached the like what subject matter. We're just talking about the idea to tell stories is to be human,
Yeah.
right? And then from there there's so many subsets,
Hmm.
so I'm always like the more we get to like you're able to kind of talk about the human experience, which is like monumentally challenging
Hmm.
Yeah.
for it to be like a universal kind of like coming together for all of us. That's like the pinnacle of like the medium working. It's
Yeah.
magic. Doesn't lessen at
Yeah.
all. And if in some cases, I feel like certain mediums need to be minute
Yeah.
so that they can actually speak to people who don't see themselves. in ways that they need to see themselves.
I'll say I resonate with that art gallery illustration because I had the opportunity at my job to, they found out I wrote a book. And so they did a book club surrounding it where I sat there, read an excerpt, and then they did the discussion. It was almost like a college workshop, like English 101 workshop, where the author, like everybody would print out the story and they would talk about your work like you're not in the room, but in a constructive way,
Yeah,
like in a
yeah,
very constructive way, talking about what
yeah,
they got from it and things like that. And it's funny because then people would ask me, well, what was your intention in writing? I was like, that doesn't matter. And I'm
yeah,
very adamant about that. Like I don't want to tell you
yeah.
why I did
Exactly.
it. I know why I did it. There
Yeah,
of course is a reason why I did it, but I'm curious what you got from it. Because you
yep,
also, even as a writer, the way I construct sentences and the story and everything, I could have intention behind it, but what you get from it could be something that's totally other that I wasn't even planning on doing.
yes,
And it just like it
yes,
does all the things. And
100%.
that
yeah.
happened. Like when someone said what they got like between a certain character, they were like, "Were you meaning to do that?" And I was like, "No."
Does it matter?
It just
It
Does
doesn't
it
matter.
matter? Yeah,
no. And
And
I love when
honestly,
that happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
my hot take is like if you are trying to create with the idea that you're going to elicit a specific reaction from
Hmm.
someone, that's literally just called manipulation.
Yes,
Mm.
It
yes.
isn't, you're not, because like the thing that's in the middle, the creation that you're like helping lives its own life, right?
Yeah,
It's not you. It like, and that I think that like, man, like the photo, like working with people and photographing, like we all like the language is really hilarious because like you like to take a picture,
take a picture. Yeah,
to shoot
Mm.
somebody, to like
yeah,
it's like, like you are like to steal a moment, right? Like it's
yeah,
like you're
Mm.
gathering these things and you're hoarding them, or you're assaulting everybody. It sounds very like violating, but like
yeah,
honestly, the process is like you're making something with somebody else. It is absolutely in my mind, even if you're creating single, it's like by yourself, it's impossible, but especially when you're doing it with other people, for it to be what you intended it to be. It's
yeah,
not possible, right? Like to do
Mhm.
that, you're just like using the entire toolkit to try and manipulate somebody into being, to only
Mhm.
see what you want them to see versus relating, which are two totally different
yes.
I,
approaches, right?
that
And
oh
so
yeah.
when you're like, man, I think more artists should put down the guys that they intended, you
Mm.
know, like I think it's great. Like a new Kendrick song drops and everybody's like
Great.
combing through the lyrics and they're like
Yeah.
pulling out what they think he meant
What
that
do they
he was
think he
trying to
meant? Yeah.
say. Who like, and then
He
you're
doesn't need to be a
asking
part of that.
him,
He's
it
already
doesn't
done
matter.
his job.
Yeah,
He's done
it
his
doesn't
job.
matter.
He made the art. Now
Even
it's
if
on
you're
us
put
to decide what it is.
Yeah,
And
and
what
even if you're
yeah.
like conspiracy theory putting things
Yeah.
Yeah,
together, like you're like, oh, when he
totally.
said this and blah 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 blah, then it missed this and all that stuff. And I wish I could pull something up that was really a deep dive right now, but I won't,
Yeah.
because my mind doesn't work that way. But like, it doesn't matter if he intended that or not, you know?
hmm
You
And
But
I
know?
think
that's also
yeah.
built into artistry, right? Is like once you create it, it's a gift. So you send that gift out into the world, and then you don't have dominion over it anymore. You
Yeah.
don't get to call people and go, no, 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 that's not. No, you're watching it wrong, or no, you're. Shh, that's not yours, right? Like that. This is, and you're right, right? Like if I'm trying to elicit a response from you, it's manipulation. It's not artistry. There's nothing transformative
No,
there. There's nothing transformational. What I want to do is I want to take the experience of being human. I want to put every bit of that down in whatever medium I have with whatever tools I have, and I want to send it on its merry way. Because another one is coming right
Right.
down and it's going to
Yes.
download into me, and I got to
100%,
be ready to convey the next piece. And then you
100%.
get to stand in that art gallery and you get to watch the thing and you get to go, this is making me really reflect on my childhood and I need a moment and I'm going to cry. And I go,
Yes.
that's cool. Is that my intention? I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know what my intention was when I was creating the art. All I can tell you is what my experience of being human was. And now you're translating my experience of being human through
Yeah.
a methodology into your experience of being human. And you know, the world is the world.
I'll take it a step further. You're trying to like once you give it, it's like a gift. Like I
Yeah.
honestly think like as soon as you pen to paper, like
Hmm.
however that metaphor works for anybody, it's done.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
that's
I
not, it's
agree.
not you
Strongly.
like as soon as you start exploring,
Yeah.
creating in the like turning the idea only exists and you can only have ownership of it in your own mind. I
Yeah.
think as soon as you start trying to
Mm,
take that idea out of here and putting it anywhere else, it's never
Hmm.
going to be, and this is the frustrating part about creating is
Sure.
that it's never this, right?
It's never. Yeah.
It's never, and that's like, and that's the beauty, but like the, what is it like one of the hardest parts about being an artist or creating is getting out of your own way,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
right?
yes.
I know we've all heard that, right? Like, and I
Of
think that's
course.
like, it's
Live
something
it.
that I think
Yeah.
everybody has to hear is that,
Hmm.
you're sold a dream in your medium that you're trying to
Hmm.
arrive
Yep.
somewhere. And you're trying
And
to
Yes.
again, that's the
define this
ambition.
idea
Yeah.
that it is
Yes.
going to be here. And I
Hmm.
have to get there
Yeah.
at all costs. And every distraction from me getting to the end point is a
Yeah.
failure. And what
Yeah.
you're missing is that it's not possible. And that as soon as it comes out of here, forget where you're like, it's not possible. You're not going to get there.
Yeah.
But what you're going to discover is that it starts to live its life as you're trying to like consult with it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like another entity. You're like, well, here you go, idea. Like, what happens if I feed you this? Like, what if I
Hmm.
give you this part? What if like we
What do you
did the
become?
lighting this way
Yeah.
or whatever? And then it's going to respond to you. And you kind of have
Yep.
this consultation with the idea of what it could become, and then when you work and collaborate with other people,
That's
like I get to
oof.
do,
Yeah.
then you have to consult
With them.
with
With
them,
yeah.
and they're also putting their
Right.
opinions and
Yeah.
their ideas into this thing that lives by itself, right? So it's not even theirs. It's not like
Yeah.
me and Antonio are going to get together and it's Antonio's idea and I'm putting stuff into his head. No, it's like
Yeah.
him and I put stuff into this weird
Hmm.
Thing,
thing
this
that
container of
lives by
yeah.
itself, and then we
Yeah.
go, here you
Now
go.
what? Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
sorry. I was gonna
No,
say
no.
sorry.
No, no, go, 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 go. Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
gonna say that's the thing I love, like the thing I love the most about art that both of you touched on simply is it's able to connect people through conversation.
Yeah.
Like you're able to learn more about a person through conversing about art. I feel like you can learn their perspective, even their
Hmm.
past experiences. Like it really is a catalyst to relationship. If you
Yeah.
like whether it's a painting in an art gallery or a book, like look at the like book clubs, like even being able to get around a book and look at how someone phrased something or look at how a character was in a certain situation and different things like that, or even a film or a photo that's able to speak to you in a way that maybe you weren't even able to contextualize, but the fact that you are able to feel something and then through that communicate that to someone else who can then communicate to someone else and it can be like this ongoing conversation, I think is something that's just so beautiful and shouldn't be oversimplified. I think that's
Yeah.
something too that I'm concerned with the current state of affairs in terms of art and entertainment sometimes is that sometimes I feel like art can be oversimplified in the sense of like, oh, it's just this or it's just that. And I do see the need for it at times, but sometimes I feel like there's such a beautiful mystery and complexity to it that people don't often speak to that I think needs to be shown more that it like how it's able to move people and how it's
Hmm.
able to bring people together and even inspire people. Like I remember I was talking with a friend, he watched a movie and immediately booked a trip to Ireland. It's
Yeah.
because he
Amazing.
watched that movie and then
Yeah.
had such a transformational experience in and of itself.
That's amazing.
Like that type of stuff, like a textbook can't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's
Hmm.
something in the way that art is able to communicate sometimes universal truths
I
in a
mean,
way,
I think
like I
art
think
speaks
it's
to
beautiful.
the
Yeah.
original part of you. That
Yeah.
that is truly what I feel. I think that art speaks to your soul,
Yeah.
and it's the only part of you that has never associated itself with the mistruths that have been handed to you. And
Mm.
so one of the things that really gets me is that the three of us could go see a play, and there could be a moment in the play, and we're not talking. It's a dark room. We're not speaking to each other. We're just boom, 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 boom between the stage and our heart and the stage and our heart. And we get out, and Alistair says something about it, and I go, man, I didn't get it that way.
Mm.
I go, I felt this, and he goes, oh, I felt this, and then you go, I don't know, I'm somewhere in between. And now we get to now have a whole new artistry happening between the three of us that's conversational, and it's not about who's right and who's wrong.
Hmm.
It's about further communicating our experiences of being human and finding each other in that,
Hmm.
right? And so
Yeah, you also might have somebody who comes out of that and goes like, eh,
Yeah,
you know,
which is great.
which is also like, and I think
Yeah,
because
and
again,
that's their
it rolls
I do this
back
experience.
all the
into
time in movies. I make
yeah,
people so angry.
well, and it's really good perspective to have because I think that's the
Yeah.
point of like it's not like exactly what you said. Not all things for work for everybody
Yeah,
Yeah.
is actually part of why it should work and why we should all be pursuing, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know
We
what I do
all
sometimes?
we all create, right? Like
Yeah,
we all have built in whether we are doing something that doesn't feel creative or not, or isn't traditional creative mediums, we
Yeah.
all create as
Yeah.
humans, right?
yeah. So sometimes I'll watch something and it stirs me. That's the word I'm going to use. It stirs me. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't impact me. It doesn't astound. It just stirs me. There's something unsettled, and I think I hate it. I'm convinced I hate the movie. So I go and find somebody and I go, "Did you like that?" And they go, "Yeah." And I go, "Explain it to me. Explain to me your experience of being human in relation to that movie." And sometimes, and this truly does happen sometimes, as they're talking, the penny drops. And I go, oh, that feeling of stirring was resentment that I was carrying to something that I haven't been able to process. And that movie was, without knowing that that was the intention that it was seeking with me personally, was trying to dig it up. And my obstacles in my life were keeping it firmly rooted. And so all I could do is go like, I don't know, maybe it wasn't a good performance. Maybe the lighting was bad. Maybe the director's stupid. And then I go to somebody who I appreciate and I go, hey, can you just tell me what that did to you? And as they're talking, that piece that wouldn't untether during the film comes flying off. And I go, okay, stop talking. I gotta go cry. You know what I mean? Like, and
Mm,
and and so and so I think that there's a lot of things that are happening. If we go back to the Arthur Simeon talking about it for a second and people being on their phones and da da da, I I think there's a few things at play. He says so many things in that one clip
Yeah.
that like I couldn't pick out what and I actually watched that clip I remember and I was kind of bothered by it and I was like, why am I bothered? And I was like, right, because I don't agree with everything he's saying.
correct.
And
Me too.
it's the social, that's what it is, whatever. That's his point of view. But at some point I, I have to look at the world that we're now a part of. Like I have to say, what is 2026? How do we function 26? What are the opportunities that we have that we've never had before, right? So the idea that we do have a phone that can distract us, and that we're now saying that the phone is the problem, or that the movie's the problem, or whatever. And I actually have a bigger question around like, what is our capacity as human beings to sit with discomfort? In a world where we are offered distraction at every turn, I think that art becomes harder and harder to digest because we can choose not to sit with that discomfort. And the idea is that fear exists everywhere, and the only thing that combats fear, the underside of fear, is love. Love heals, fear hurts, right? And anything that we approach in the world that offers us any sort of discomfort, we go, no, I have to avoid it. I have to stay away from it until eventually we escape and numb and mute all of these feelings. So much so that we go, well, I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to talk to that person. I'm not going to go to that place. And we limit our capacity to find out how love heals. And so when I listen to that guy's quote and I think about it, I'm like, right, I actually think the bigger problem for me that I look at is we have such a we have so many opportunities to escape
Mm.
that we have lost the ability. Some of us, many of us, all of us actually, in some way, shape, or form, have lost the ability to sit with the discomfort. That moment that stirs us, we put a lid on it and we go, I'm never taking that lid off. Rather than, hey, can you explain to me why I might be feeling this way? And
Right.
so like that's the piece that I'm actually the most engaged with is like, and this is a piece that I'm really trying to barrel headfirst into because that's how I operate in my life, in my own life, is how do I meet discomfort? How do I seek discomfort? And how do I identify it when it's there? And how do I love it while it's there? So that I can better understand what my discomfort is rooted in.
Well, I think it's the opportunity for growth, right? Like
Yeah.
there's like I'm gonna butcher it right now, but there's like a there's like this beautiful story in this book called The Seven Valleys about like this lover who's looking for his beloved, right? And it's really like a metaphorical journey about like this soul's journey,
Right.
right? And and when you're passionately looking for something, you'll like look for it anywhere, in the dust or the dirt or whatever. But anyway, he comes across someone who does wants to do him harm, as he's on his journey, like, a robber, highwayman, and gives chase and chases him to a wall that looks unsurmountable. And with great difficulty, he scales it and
Hmm.
finds himself in a garden. And it's exactly where he's been trying to be
Right.
because he sees his beloved,
Right.
Mm.
right in this garden. And he stands in the garden looking at her and he says, if I'd only known that this ill wisher would deliver me, I would have thanked him
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
advance and prayed for his hastened like arrival, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like it's amazing how like you like some it's not I think to be like to self-flagellate to look for all that stuff, but I think like to be tested is to grow, right? Like
Yeah.
otherwise was
Hmm.
like life without struggle would cease to have meaning for us. Like there what
We
meaning would
need
we
we need
have
the duality.
if we had comfort just kind of like given to us? Like
Yeah.
what would be the purpose of this reality, right?
And also, how would you know it? Right? Like
Yeah.
Right,
that's
because
always my biggest
there's
question
not,
is like, how would you
Yes.
know
yeah.
it?
Which is that contrast is the light and dark, right? It's
Yeah.
not to choose darkness, it's the darkness is there to fill it with light, which and I think
Right.
that's like also really to like bring it back, I think to like the idea that we're framing art and
Hmm.
creation is that we're talking about it in like an altruistic purpose. And it's really
Yeah.
easy, I think, in the conversations that we have about like a lot of mediums, especially like internet mediums, right? And social media and all that stuff to conflate everything together. And there's like not a lot of altruistic currently attitudes in terms of uh, why they exist, right?
Right.
Could there be? Yes,
Yep.
totally. Like, have I resonated really hard with a Vine, which is definitely going to date me?
Amazing.
I
You
remember
know what I mean?
mine.
I
But
love
like
vines. Yeah.
and because
Yeah.
right because like you
Yeah.
got like this little snippet of time and the
Yeah.
amount of like I was like, dude, you
I
guys,
thought they were some of the
like
best
you
creators.
you fit that much story
10
into like
seconds, dude.
10
Yeah.
seconds. Get out of here. Like
Yeah.
that's like phenomenal, right?
I had a whole bunch of vines saved on like my last phone, and when it died,
Yeah.
I lost them all, and I was devastated because I was like, this was some of the best storytelling that I'd
We
come across.
literally just lost
Period.
like so many people
I
right now.
know. Vines?
On both sides of our age. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But like I think it's really easy to conflate like the all of it because it
yeah,
simplifies it, right? And there's a lot of nefarious attitudes with the way that the mediums are changing because of the internet. And we're
mm,
not there at a point where we have rebelled against the nefarious
yeah,
attitudes of like why they shouldn't be this and celebrated what they could do to get them back
yeah,
to the idea that we just tell stories
yeah.
to tell
Again,
stories.
because they're just different tools.
It's just
They're
different
just different
tools, and
tools.
but we're not there yet to
Yeah,
embrace them because we're warring with the idea that there is exactly what you're saying is like the nefarious attitude is that most of these mediums, their primary purpose is to distract us,
yeah,
right? And to keep
mhm,
us kind of like, you
yeah,
know, hooked in, and so that we just want to keep scrolling, right? And
yeah,
it's not like it's documented, it's studied, like we see the psychology involved in that. So like we haven't gotten to the point where we're allowing ourselves to see it as a healthy medium.
right.
But we also, and this is I think the thing that I don't totally agree with that video clip, that maybe you resonate with this is that, and I really don't want to call like movies and photography and everything legacy media, but like in a way it kind of is starting to become legacy
Right.
media,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So they're legacy mediums in the
yeah,
same way. That doesn't mean that they're going to go away. I don't think so.
yeah,
Is it the predominant way that we communicate with each other? Absolutely not
yeah.
anymore.
Not anymore.
So this is
Yeah,
not the 90s where you
correct.
go and you're waiting for the new Spielberg movie because you're going to go into the theater and
Yeah,
he's going to start the hero's journey at some point, and then we're all
yeah,
going to learn something at the end of the movie about ourselves, right? Like
yeah.
that was the guarantee, that was the pact that most movies delivered to us. And it was great because that was
Mhm.
like primarily how we socialized and we all did that together. that replaced going to the theater. That replaced, going to the opera. Like, so there's
Yeah,
always like, it's
totally.
all just, like, it's hard for me to say, and I think this is also why I appreciate that I actually get to do the job that I do, but like we don't have the market share that we used to have. Like it's not just like everybody
Yeah,
can kind of be a photographer anymore because it is starting to become a little bit like legacy media. Like we don't images are everywhere. It's like democratizing of like creation has really like allowed everybody to kind of pick up the same toolkits that used to be kind of hidden from
yes.
a lot of people. And I fully support that. Like I think we warred
Hmm.
with a lot of like, but I worked really hard to get here and I
Yeah,
deserve and I'm entitled and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, we need everybody like trying to tell stories
exactly.
the best way that they can. And I think that's the whole point. And if I can't do that and also be pushed to do that, then I shouldn't be doing it,
Then you
is
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be
part of
doing it.
it. And we
Exactly.
saw that happen. That's the
Yeah,
Darwinism of people kind of getting weeded out and
yeah,
retiring and all that stuff and not wanting to contend. But like movies aren't going away, but the a lot of like the small screen isn't going away either. And so
precisely.
that new medium, eventually we have to like stop thinking about it like, you
Yeah,
know, content creation being a bad thing. It doesn't really matter what we label it. It's just
yeah,
another toolkit, right? And
yeah,
there are tools in there that work better in some ways than other mediums,
yeah,
right? Which are
yeah.
kind of interesting, but we're not at a point where it's healthy enough to explore that because it's a little too destructive
I
currently.
remember saying to, I was working on a show, and I said to the showrunner, and this was his first show, so I shouldn't have said it, but I was like, oh, I had gone in to do voiceover or something like that, and I was like, oh yeah, I watched the first couple episodes, they're fantastic, and he started telling me about something, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I watched them on my phone, and he was really mad at me, and I kind of paused and I went, who is this for? Because and no disrespect, if you want everybody to watch this on the format that you've designed it for, I totally get that, but that's not accessible to all people. So are you telling a story that's accessible to all people? If it is, can you meet them where they are? What would it mean to go and meet them where they are? Because that's where I was like, I had a 4 month old. I was carrying a baby and watching my shows. That's what I had access to. But it gave me pause, and it actually took me back to when I was in theater school. And I'll never remember this guy's name. I always forget. R.H. Thompson, who is a famous Canadian playwright and actor, came in with this other fellow, Douglas something, who ended up passing on about a year and a half after this conversation. And I didn't know who he was at the time. And I heard about him anecdotally later on. But anyways, he said something that actually changed the course of my life. Quite literally, he said, "If you want to know what your art is worth, go to a place where it doesn't exist. If you are making theater, go find a field in a small town that doesn't have a theater and put up a play. And if people come to see it and their lives are changed, then you've made art." And I was like, dude, that rocked my world because it broke down the pretension of it has to be in a theater to be theater. It has to be in an art gallery to be art. It wasn't that. It was, it has to connect to people. It has to resonate with other human beings. If you are resonating with other human beings, you are making art, period. That's it.
Yeah.
There's,
One of
there's,
my
there's, there's no nuance to it.
Yeah, and I think to roll it back to like like what started this whole conversation is that, like you talk about, you mentioned like, do we need well, he mentions, do you need to dumb down the story
Yeah.
like for it to work? And I'm like, no, there's just
No.
like, I think it's just a different way to approach it, but absolutely unequivocally, you shouldn't
Yeah.
because the medium deserves to be respected,
Yeah.
right? So whatever you're working in deserves like to it wants you to oh, I'm gonna lose all the words now. It wants you to dig up every last tool. Like
Yes.
the medium always wants you to do that
Yeah.
every time, no matter
The
what you're
medium is
working
the
in.
medium is pushing you in the work.
It's asking you to use every single tool that you know or are aware of and can articulate with. So to not use it would be kind of sad, right? To like
Hmm.
just kind of dumb it down. Is there a different way to compete?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like so I think my favorite one of my favorite examples in Canada is like the Tragically Hip, you
Yeah.
know, because, and I'm going to lose a whole bunch of people here too, but if you don't know about them, you should know about
You should
them.
know about them.
And my favorite thing about it is that it's literally bar rock,
Yeah.
right? On the
Yeah.
surface.
Yeah.
But when you
And
really start
then
getting into it, it is like the most diabolically hidden
poetic.
poetry that you could ever hear
Yeah.
from this front man in the
Yeah.
lyrics. And literally, you're just like, you could be in a bar, like drinking a beer in like anywhere, and you're just like, yeah, this hits, you know?
Yeah.
And because it's just like a good bar song.
Yeah.
But really, the reality is that you're tricked into hearing poetry.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
so I think it's just like the way that you approach it. You don't need to dumb down anything. It just requires like a different approach. So does a movie need to down? No, it'll never compete with social media right now.
Yeah.
But it needs a different approach if you want, if your intention is to get eyes in a traditional medium, then it might need a different approach, right? Which we're seeing, like different
Yeah.
hooks to get people into theaters, like we're trying to pull people back in and
So a good example of that right now was Marty Supreme, which I found Timothy Chalamet's PR tour insufferable, but I also had a ton of respect for it because he played the game in a way that made sure that the types of audiences that he didn't think would see his film would come see his film.
Hmm.
He said outlandish things. He did crazy stuff. It seemed so gimmicky, but people went and people saw a movie that was artful and intelligent and well put together in the theater that they may not have done otherwise.
yeah, and that has nothing to do with like trying to change
No,
how you're approaching the medium, right? And
yeah,
I think that works for
precisely.
every, does it, I mean the caveat is that for different mediums, it's going to present different challenges because
Yeah,
like they may not be front and center or have like a large market share of our attention anymore, right? Like trying to get people to kind of support and come out to the ballet is not going to be the same thing as like
tricky.
coming out
Yeah.
to a movie theater right now, right? You
Hmm.
know, or jumping on Amazon Prime and watching the new series of whatever that they did a huge marketing push for, right?
Yeah.
Like that's way more accessible to us than a lot of legacy mediums, but they're still kicking around and
Yeah.
have so much important relevance still. It's just the way that we approach
Look,
trying to get eyes and ears onto them needs to
yeah,
change. That's it. Yeah.
the National Theatre in London, they now have National Theatre at home. So they've figured out how to videotape. For years when I was working in theater, people were like, you could never videotape theater and have it make sense. And I was like, that's just you're choosing not to. Of course there's a way because videography is an art form. There's a medium that has all these tools at its disposal. Well, the National Theater, which I think puts on some of the most incredible plays with some of the most incredible actors, most incredible directors, and it's inaccessible because we're not flying to London and most of us don't go to the theater anymore and we don't think about it. But these are like we know Andrew Scott as the hot priest from Fleabag. Well, guess what? He's one of the greatest stage actors that they have over there. We've got Martin Freeman, who was in Sherlock Holmes, and he's one of their best, right? So they took a medium that was inaccessible and they created access. They made a streaming service for the National Theater at home, and now you can watch it on your phone. You can watch it on your laptop. You can watch it on your TV. You can stream it right to wherever you are because what they know is the story is going to hit you. The story is going to hit you, right?
And
Like they've captured that.
and I think the important thing is to get out of like collectively we have to get out of our own way in that way
Yes.
too because there's a little bit of a mourning period and I get this
Uh-huh.
like as a
Yep.
visual artist
I'm
you're
in
like
mourning.
well the
I am.
medium is forcing me to give up this dream of how potent it can be when it is in this environment, right?
Yeah.
So for me that would be like printing, right?
Yes.
Nothing is better than seeing the effort of somebody going through all, especially if you know how much effort it took to
Yeah.
physically print something. And I don't mean like at the
No,
drugstore.
no, like in
Yeah,
in proper
Dark
in a
room.
exactly.
dark
Yeah.
room and
And
yeah.
then you hang that, you frame, you go through I needed to
Yeah.
frame that. And
It's
I made a
incredible.
choice about how it was framed and then like how it was mounted. And you put that
Yeah.
up on a wall and you light it in a certain way. And then you invite people into a curated space. You
Yeah,
lose that by me just posting that on Instagram.
totally. And
Right.
that's actually why I use National Theater as an example, because they didn't replace one, they doubled down. So they said, we have a gallery opening and you're all invited, and there's a number of people who come to it, and we're going to make it accessible somewhere else for those of you who would never do that. And I think the hope is it's going to bring more people to the theater one day, as it might bring more people to an art gallery one day.
But I think, yeah, I think to your point, like again, it kind of like it's back to that what is the intention? It almost
Yes.
doesn't really matter, like
Yeah.
the point is like it's about sharing the gift that you're trying to
Yeah.
give to everybody, right? And I think that's what everybody on the other end, we often think about like what I think from like a creative or like the curator standpoint, what we
Yeah.
deserve,
Yep.
and
Totally.
really like there's less of like what you really need to be thinking is like what does humanity deserve? Like what is the
Yeah.
potential the group of people that are going to receive this, what do they deserve? And they,
Yeah.
in the same way that like I think we have probably all heard that it doesn't really matter how good your thing is, you just need to get it out there, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not
Hmm.
it's not that we deserve to be heard, it's that our voice is missing
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
conversation
In the
if we are
conversation.
if we're waiting for perfection to come along,
Hmm.
right? And
Or we're
Yeah.
that's
waiting for permission.
And that's a
yeah,
whole
or
other
that too. Any of
conversation.
those
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like that's the whole
Hmm.
thinking it from like an audience perspective is like, like it really just need you're like you want it to be out there for them. And that kind of helps me at least like get over the fact that like yeah, like it would be so much better. We're always talking about like, oh, but you have to especially with like
Yeah.
movies, like, oh no, you got to see it in
You
like,
got to see it. Yeah. You need to listen
it,
to it on
it was
vinyl. I'm like,
filmed in
you're right.
VistaVision. It can only be seen projected in 70 millimeter like in the theater,
Yeah. Sinners is that. Sinners is, if you get a chance to see it in theater, you have to see it in theater. He shot it to be seen in a theater.
Right.
The story is so good that if you watch it on your phone, you're still going to be moved. That's how good it is.
And that is it, right? And then the thing
Yeah.
is like that's the different approach. Like, does it
Yeah.
mean that we need to like forget about the whole toolkit, including the
Hmm.
technicality of like creating and the mastery of
Yeah.
like creating in a medium? Absolutely not. Will
Absolutely
it
not.
be lost more than ever these days? Absolutely.
Totally.
And you better be ready to
Yeah.
you better be
But
ready to make peace with that because that's also not necessarily the point. Like I
exactly.
no part of
Yeah.
anybody on set when I'm making a photograph and especially when they're viewing that photograph, is going to care what I shot it on,
Yep.
how I shot it, what lights I
Yeah.
was using, what mood I was in,
Yeah.
like what height the camera was set at, like what
Yeah.
format like any of that stuff doesn't really like nobody cares. And I think that's also like a hard thing as a creator because you go through like all of those steps,
Yeah.
sweating over every single one of them because
For
you
someone to
need
go,
to.
nice shot. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, "Eh, eh." Or my favorite is like, eh.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
that's true. That one hurts way more.
yeah, you're like, eh. You're like, yeah, I literally like died
Yeah.
making this, but
You don't know.
that's
Yeah.
the
That's,
job, right? And
yeah.
it's not to be validated
Yeah.
in the sweat that you put in the process. The validation is to be able to share that with somebody.
Yes. Yep.
That
And to let
that's
it be what it's going to be to them.
that's
Right.
it.
Like that humility also, I think, is very,
Yeah.
there's something safe about the humility to just go, it's out there now.
But
Like it, don't like it, but
and there's a
it's not about me.
there's a mourning in all mediums that aren't internet based right now,
Yeah.
in that because you were sold a dream. Like we were all sold a dream at some point, right? As much as like before we were all born, like everybody mourned the idea of how painting isn't respected the way that it is anymore because
Yeah.
photography came and usurped it, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Like before we were taking pictures to make the composites for the posters for all the movies, those were all hand painted.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were all hand painted, and we literally usurped that,
Yep.
and took that over. And which also means I think it's really important to have that like that perspective as well as a creator because it also means that technology can come for you too. And not in a
Totally.
way that is going to there's two things and again it comes back to we like to conflate everything, right? And I think from a creator standpoint, you're like, well, it's coming from my livelihood, which
Right.
is a fear of not being able to survive, which
Yeah.
is fair and challenging, especially if you've like invested heavily in your career.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also not coming for you because you just have to be ready to change in a way, hopefully that you're able to do without it being too painful.
Yeah,
You know,
remain part of the conversation.
yeah, yeah,
I could
And
talk
which
to y'all
which
for hours. This is
if you love
crazy.
art, that's what you do. You stay in the conversation, right?
yeah, because
It
it's
is a
the human
conversation.
conversation. It's
It's
to
not a
be
monologue.
human.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, but like we speaking altruistically because it gets co-opted all the time for nefarious purposes, and I think we conflate all mediums and all the content of all mediums. And like my favorite example is like not every movie could be considered a work of art
Right.
because of the idea of making movies is really first and foremost the vast majority of it business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what
Fair.
is it like that famous quote like art and output can't be the same, right? So
Right.
like if you're
Mm.
being asked to output something,
Yeah.
you can be artistically inclined and you can be there's an artistry to making that.
But you're
But
still
in
creating a
terms of it
product.
being an artist, those, it can't come with output, right?
Yeah.
So and that's business. Business requires an output, right? Where you
Yeah.
get kind of paid for that. But to have the freedom to be able to kind of speak and say
To
is
just
really
create.
challenging. So for it to happen in like Sinners, or one of my greatest examples recently is Sing Sing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which is like, so you approach somebody and you manage to convince the whole business model that you want to make like a little like fun movie about like a prison theater company,
Yeah.
initiative that helps kind of put a bunch of inmates back together and makes them whole again. Like it doesn't really sell on paper,
No.
but like if you can kind of like convince everybody to make that, then, and still like there's an artistry, like it can be art, but it's not always art, right?
Yeah.
So there's entertainment, there's art,
Yeah.
and then there's like the
They're
nefarious
separated.
purposes that we use the mediums like propaganda and everything else that,
Yeah.
and we kind of conflate all that together and we definitely speak to its altruistic nature right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Shan for putting this together. 'Cause this is
She didn't
just
know what she was doing.
had no clue. I feel like we could go on for hours on end, but I don't want to take up too much of your gentlemen's time. And you both have said a lot. But because you are here and our guests on Dear Hallmark, what I do with all my guests when I have them on is have you guys kind of just say something to leave with the people as kind of like a culminating statement. So Antonio, I'll have you go first, and then Alistair, you
Thank
can
God.
I'm not prepared for this. I don't a
you
culminating
can
statement.
bring. I mean, no pressure. Like you can literally just say Lord of the Rings is the best movie that's ever come out. Like you can just
Ah,
say whatever you want.
Please.
Don't scoff. Don't scoff. And then Lord of the
I
Rings. Because that's my heart. And I'm a recent convert into Lord of the
oh,
Rings.
nice.
So yeah,
I mean, I
welcome.
feel that I just recently watched Harry Potter for the first time. So what am I doing? I, I,
yeah.
I watched the first one years ago, and I got the end. I went, yeah, good movie. I don't need more.
He
And I
said,
just,
meh.
yeah, it was. I loved it actually. I loved it, and I just thought, complete story. I'm
Yeah.
done.
I've
And I
never
recently
seen
went
it
on
either.
vacation and I watched all of it. It's listen, number one, fantastic. Two, three, four, fine. Five, six, seven. Is there an eight? I don't know. Amazing. The end of it is fantastic. It's fantastic. And the first one's great. The three in the middle, I think, are terrible. Um, what is my? I don't think I have a. I don't know. I don't know that I have a culminating thought. Be
Or
kind to people. I got
yeah.
nothing. Just
Yeah.
I think, mate, you got to give them a little bit of foundation, maybe. I think give them a container to a launch pad from.
I don't even know.
Can you
I,
I don't know, sum up what we just went through?
I have so many. I'm like looking around at all the books that I'm reading right now, which if I were to, I mean, if I could show you all these, you would be like, "What are you going through, dude?"
Is it nonfiction or fiction?
I don't read fiction. I
Oh.
actually just got into this weird thing with my wife last night where she was like, "You don't read fiction ever. Like, what do you read for leisure?" And I was like, "I like learning for leisure. Like, I read books on quantum mechanics
Oh.
as my like wind down book. Like,
We gotta get together. We got a few things to
yeah,
hash out, my guy. I
like
I my mom was like, "You want to read you want?" And I was like, "Oh no, I want to read these encyclopedias as my
Yeah,
bedtime stories."
that's where I'm at. I don't know. I think I've always been like this, but I'm just making sense of it now. Yeah, I don't even know what my culminating thought is.
It doesn't have to be culminating. Okay, take the word culminating out of it. But
Oh no,
just, I always give the guest just the last word to say
yeah.
whatever it is you want to say.
Listen, I was just happy to be here,
Oh.
honestly. And you know what? I've been weaning myself off of Instagram pretty intensely, but what I miss the most, if I'm being dead honest with you, two things. One is sending you pickle content, because people got to know how much you like pickles. And
Please strike that from the record, y'all.
I'm just trying to destroy your algorithm. And
Literally.
then and then the second thing is hopping on your lives when I'm going through something is the greatest place for personal therapy that I've ever come across. To be
Amen.
seen and
Amen.
loved when I am at a 10. Woo! You've done great things for me there. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to have to create the space where you feel comfortable enough to do that. Alistair, Antonio got on a live and for 20 minutes just went like code red on Staples. And I
Yeah.
don't know, like he went into the
Not
ether
untrue.
on Staples and it was fascinating. And I said not a thing. I just let it go for 20 minutes. I just gave him the space to just get off what he needed to get off.
Not
It was
planned. Not like
not
I had
planned either.
I had just
Oh
come
no,
back from a
I buy
traumatic
it.
event and just
I buy
logged
it.
on and was like, "You're live," and I was like, "Can I join?" Hey, what are you doing?
It was fantastic. Fantastic.
Uh, I think my piece is kind of similar. I'm just it's just so what a pleasure to have you like invite me back again. You do a great job of just like creating a space where two idiots just ramble on about whatever the hell we talked about for the
Yeah,
last almost 2 hours.
yeah. I got at
And
least 2 hours more in me.
I know
yeah,
that's all I was like, oh man, I
yeah,
gotta
I probably do too, but I don't think that's what everybody should be
Nope.
subjected to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that you just make it feel like we can just keep going, and that's
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing. Like,
Oh,
thank you
thank you.
for making space for us to just be able to say who we actually are and say our piece and be excited about it, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Thank y'all. Well, y'all, I mean, if you're still here, thank you for for watching and or
20
listening.
points for everyone who's still hearing this right now. Yeah.
Yes. But please, all of their information. Oh, and can y'all tell where people can find Antonio, I know you're not on Instagram, but in terms of like shouting out your restaurant or any of your ventures that people can patronize and Alistair, your website and all the things.
If you're in Vancouver, you can come meet me at the restaurant. We have a place called the Mackenzie Room. We're down to one restaurant, and I'm there, I don't know, half of my week. Um, if you want, the place where you can really listen to me is on my basketball podcast, which we've just recently renamed The Casuals. It used to be called The Air Up There. And prior to that, it was um, oh my gosh, I forgot the name of my original podcast with Bram. Anyways, I don't do it Bram anymore. I have a new lovely co-host from Australia named Ellie, and she and I are the Casuals on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And we just talk basketball. We talk about everything except the game. We don't really talk stats. We don't talk metrics. We don't pretend like we know anything about anything. But if somebody wore something ridiculous, you're going to hear about
That's fantastic.
That sounds perfect.
it.
Antonio, Alistair, what about your website or Instagram?
I will shamefully say I am just not great at being online. You can come check me out at myfullname.com. But I'm currently renegotiating with myself about trying to update my website. And sometimes we know how that goes.
Same.
That's been a few years in the making. But you can also see me post very seldomly at Allister.Foster on Instagram. And yeah, I think in light of like what we talked about, like I hope to be better at that this year because I think it's important to like I realize how um, sharing, how much sharing isn't boasting. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Those two things aren't the same thing. Yeah.
Hey, my last culminating thought is that if you don't get in cold water, go get yourself in some really cold water. Yeah.
You know, none of us like cold water, right?
Nobody likes cold water. That's why you should do it. You
Cold
ever want to
water
come
or
drive down to the river with me? We'll get in some really cold water.
Is this a sinner's thing?
No, this is just this is just my relationship with discomfort.
ah.
Get uncomfortable to find comfort.
Metaphorical baptism is what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's some good stuff.
Well, y'all, that'll do it for me here on this episode of Dear Hallmark. They're Alistair and Antonio, and I'm Dara. And in the meantime, between time, tell somebody that you love them. Watch a Hallmark movie that brings you joy. Eat something you're not supposed to, but that makes you feel good.
Pickles?
Oh, gosh.
Look what I started.
Oh, my word. In that case, y'all, I'll catch y'all in the next video. Sans pickles. Sans pickles. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.